Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to tonight's bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They all were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's bonus, shall we? So when I look for answers or theories, I look at these encounters and experiences first and second hand, and then I look at the missing person, body recovered, government cover-up, and I always look for similarities in all of them. Something that just pops right out at you if you know what you're looking for. And then there are times when I just kind of want to explore something deeper. Something that means something to me and many of you out there. My native culture, my native lore. First Nation, Huron, Algonquin, Iroquois, Mohawk. And we have our own kind of creatures and that resemble a lot to what modern day cryptids look like. And I'm going to share some of that with you and some very interesting Native American lore from the Iroquois, Mohawk, Algonquin, and Huron First Nations. The monster bear. The most feared of beasts in the magical Iroquois zoo is this big devilish-looking creature. He isn't even built like a natural bear, sometimes the alternative form of a wizard. He loves running contests, luring men and swift boys to let them bet their lives on this race. These marathons last from sunrise to sunset, and second place for the mortal means dinner. Like Achilles, this demon bear has a weak spot on the pad of a foot. A spike or arrow can kill him. In a tale or two, the little people take him down when they pity his human quarry, as does the right tricky hero with red willow weapons. Others whip him with wits or magic and maybe talk him out of a couple of his teeth, the bounty of generations. His bones are medicine. Just the powder in a potion makes a human unbeatable as a runner. Such a heavy totem is the monster bear that he's the focus of a whole dance society, one of the few mythic creatures so used. We don't know any Iroquois who claim to have met the demon bear in the woods. There are enough Bigfoot reports to make you wonder if people are taking one for the other. There are those who think all myths are distortions of real events. Some suggest that Australia's dawn beasts live on in the dreamtime images of their own native people. Could the demon bear be a memory? Was there a natural parallel in the northeastern woods? In his dreams, Edgar Cayce, 1877 to 1945, raved that the Atlanteans shunned North America because its mammal predators were so nasty. Archaeology half supports the 20th century sleeping prophet. The Ice Age meat-eaters were dreadful. There was the American lion. the Panthera leo atrox, much bigger than the lions of today. There was Canis dirus, a loping assassin we call the dire wolf. The saber-toothed tiger was an ambush slasher. Outsized hyenas and wolverines were stalking terrors. The top killer, though, seems to have been the Arctos, the giant, short-faced bear, a rangy goon that ate nothing but flesh and marrow. Nicknamed the bulldog bear for its strange, pushed-in face, packing so mighty of a bite, Arctos could run 40 miles an hour. Its 5-foot limbs and 8-inch claws could rake or club any foe. When it stood on 2 legs, its stubby chin would have rested on a basketball rim. The first Americans had to face it. Was this a demon bear? Zoologists note the curiosity that big cats are spooked by the bark of dogs. It's not the dogs they dread, it's the sound. Evidently, like that of the once real animal so fearsome that its coughing resonates in the ancestral memory and sets generations of tigers aquake. Some think it could only been the short-faced bear. Little wonder if the Iroquois remember. What modern-day cryptid does that sound like? Well, on this channel we call them werewolves. Now, some people I've seen say, hey, what's the difference between a werewolf and a dogman? Well, I'll quickly tell you. A werewolf has straight human-like legs, has long arms, human-like arms, has a very stubby, pushed-in kind of snout, and has long ears on the top of its head. Looks like a humanoid dogman. Dogman has hocked legs, long tail. Oh, the werewolf also doesn't have a tail. Long tail, bushy, and kind of has that hunch. Long snout, long ears. Difference. The short-faced bear, the giant short-faced bear, to me, sounds a lot like the werewolf that we talk about on the channel. And just imagine if first Americans had to face these things, and as time passed, people talked, memories really never faded. Maybe these things just hid in the woods, the deep forests of North America, or in cave systems, just out of reach of human's eye. And every once in a while they come to stalk the humans again. Who knows? But it's very interesting. Let's get into the next piece of information I'd like to share with you all. So, people talk about skinwalkers, and like they're, some people do, like they're a cryptid. Yet a real skinwalker is a Navajo shaman practicing black magic, wearing pelts of the animal it so desires. All Native American tribes have their own version of the skinwalker. The Ojibwe have the bear walker. Well, the Iroquois have our own, or First Nation have our own kind of shapeshifter. And here's a little info on that for y'all. Witch and shapeshifter. As with Celtic wizards, one of the distinctive powers of the master witch was shapeshifting, the ability to become another being, usually an animal, and continue to think as a human. Most of the whacked out animal forms we encounter in Iroquois story and report were thought to be dangerous when they were not apparitions projected by the witches or the back-off signs of a negative sight. They were thought the alternate forms of great witches, most of whom had a favorite creature into which to shift. Still, tradition doesn't give us a reason to presume that witch and shapeshifters are one. For one thing, there are shapeshifters who are not witches. For another, there are witches who don't shapeshift. The occasional worker of a love charm or a hex may be technically a witch, but no metamorphosis is involved. Some good power people can be shifters as well. The shamans, forerunners of the great medicine people, were thought to take animal form. The most exceptional contemporary medicine people are thought to do it as well, but the transformation could be psychic. The material body lies at rest, and the astral form is at work. But you can spot a shifter. One of the oldest pan-Amerindian strictures concerning these people-animal forms is that they can never fully hide what they are. A shape-shifted animal will always show some feature of what it used to be. Even the ancient rock art of the American Southwest depicts animal forms with human feet. You just need to look closely enough. The morphed human will have an animal tooth, ear, or tail. The full animal will walk funny, even on two legs like a human. More morphed animals may turn into each other and talk in human poses. Pay attention, this may be your own edge on them. But these altered animals don't stop and explain themselves. All you can know for sure about them is that the matter is wondrously strange, and people still say they see them all over upstate New York. The witch dog, late 19th century. A woman suffering with a wasting disease told her family that every night something peered in her window. Some thought it was just the delirium of her ailment, but often when the ground was soft, her husband found big dog tracks outside. Once after a snowfall, he followed them to the dirt road, where they got lost in another track. The morning after, an old woman was among friends who called. She lived in a little house near the creek and asked about the wife, who, suspiciously, that the husband wondered how she knew so much. When she left, his wife was worse. That night, his wife screamed in her sleep, "She's looking at me." The husband jumped up, saw nothing, and thought it was another vision. Outside, though, he saw widely spaced dog tracks under the window, as if an animal that made them had run away. A neighbor saw a dark, fast-moving form leap a fence and run into the trees toward the creek. In the morning, the husband followed the tracks of the big dog to the creek. On the other side were human footprints leading to the house of the old woman. That afternoon, the old woman came again, and the husband accused her of witchcraft. She acted shocked, but her performance fell flat. No member of any Iroquois nation would be that surprised by the idea of witchcraft. "Stop witching my wife," the husband finished. "I'll fix you if you don't." That night the husband camped in the woodshed. Sometime after midnight he heard an ominous huffing and dog feet coming from the trees. He looked through the crack in the shed and saw a huge hound looking in on his sleeping wife, its paws on the windowsill. Its snout glowed in the glare that pulsed from its jowls with every breath. Its spittle lit the molten metal. It had picked a bad night to come witching. The husband had his rifle. It was slaying time. The moon was out. Lots of people saw the witch dog hurdle the fence as the husband fired. They heard a yelp and the sound of a tumble on the other side. They saw something taller and two-legged run to the nearest cabin and jump through the window. In the morning they saw blood splatters in the snow. 3 days later, the old woman was found dead in her bed from a bullet wound. Everyone was sure she had been a witch. Her intended target recovered. The Strange Old Man, early 20th century. When they were boys on the Allegheny Reservation, Deuce Bowen's uncle was always getting into trouble. Their neighbor was a solitary old man. Many suspected of being a power person. The boys sent out to goad him into a display. They played pranks on him all summer. They were peeping Tom, hoping to catch him in some magical practice. They threw rocks at his home at night, hoping to make him steam out after them in an altered form. One night they looked in the old man's window and saw him asleep in his chair, the paper folded across his lap and his lower body in shadow. One of the boys swore his legs were hairy. The feet hooved like that of a goat. They left him alone for a few weeks. One night shortly after they'd started back at it, they heard a big racket behind their house. They ran out expecting anything, but found only a little black and white dog poking around the back porch. They shooed it off and thought little more of it. A few nights later, they heard their neighbor's screen door open and figured it might be something too good to miss. They snuck through the trees and saw the old fella come out, stretching as if he had gotten up from a nap, and head toward the outhouse. It seemed a golden opportunity to throw rocks at the roof or lock him in with a stick across the latch. They watched him pass by the structure as if he were going in. They crept to it. They were just by the door when that black and white dog they had seen the night before tore around the building. It was tiny, but its fury was terrifying. It had the eyes of the devil before they could think. They were scampering home in fright, the little demon snapping at their ankles. They were out of breath when they got home. Come to the window, their mother said. They saw the form of their aged neighbor strolling back up the path toward his house, smoking his pipe. In a minute, his lights came on. The boys learned a lesson. They started to look at people with a new respect, even outcasts who seemed powerless. They were also good friends with their old neighbor in the coming years, showing as much energy to help him as they had formerly spent teasing him. Dos Bowen always wondered if this scare was what straightened them out. So, these are just a couple of very interesting First Nation tales: Onondaga, Oneida, Huron, Algonquin, Mohawk. And I wanted to share them with you because people think that skinwalkers roam all around the country. But no, each nation has their own version of a shapeshifter. Instead of saying skinwalker, say shapeshifter. It fits better. It'd be like someone knocking on someone else's heritage. You know, it's just something that is respectful, I guess. But I found these very interesting, and I wanted to share them with you. And what are your thoughts on that giant short-faced bear? If you look it up, I mean, this thing is a monster. And it really could be what we call a werewolf, if by chance it survived and lives in modern day. All right, folks, there was tonight's bonus upload. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Just a little upload to get you through until tonight's second half, which I'm sure you are going to like. But I got a lot of this information from some Native American books that I've picked up. And one, if you get a chance and you can find it, there's a book called Iroquois Supernatural. And it really is a great read with a lot of lore and just information. So if you get a chance and you find it, I suggest getting it because it is good read. And with that being said, thank you for supporting this channel. You guys do make this channel special in what it is, and it is appreciated. Guys, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. Please keep an eye on your family, your friends. It's not up to us to keep them safe, but we can keep them informed. God bless you all.